Hey, everybody, welcome into another episode of the Connection Loop podcast. I'm Rob. And as always, we're going to be covering entrepreneurs, sales leaders, and folks that have a general background in sales and want to give us their strategy, talk about what they've done. And it's really one of the best learning podcasts in terms of if you're trying to increase your growth from the folks that we have on. And today we have on Wes Schaeffer. Wes has probably the best nickname in the business Business Fixer. He's at the top of his field in terms of business consulting and coaching. And it's really all about bringing the technology and humanity together, which is very timely for what we're all going through right now, with a mix of strategy and know-how that's helped a lot of businesses over the years. He's about radical accountability and transformation. He's also a military veteran, and he's also a student of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, Wes, welcome into the Connection Loop podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Is that what I am? Are we students of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Are we guinea pigs? I still 8 years, man. I still don't know the answer to that.
I guess we're all
Thanks
still
for having
learning.
me on.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Wes,
somebody's
take
punching
your
bag.
background. Yeah, take someone through your background. You've got a very diverse background in terms of what you've done, and I feel like your experience in your past has really kind of shaped you, which it does to all of us. But you've got a really interesting past. If you want to bring people up to speed.
Is that a nice way of saying I'm old?
No,
is that what you're saying? Is that
no,
what you're saying?
no,
I think
no.
that's what you're saying.
I'm gonna go this way. No, there we go. All yours.
Yeah,
Wes.
dude. I just had a guy on my podcast. It was so funny. I got an email request from a PR agency, and she says, "Hey, you want to interview Bill Rice?" And I was like, "What?" I kind of recognize that name. I looked him up. He was a classmate of mine from the Air Force Academy, and we graduated. Yesterday was our 33rd anniversary. It's like, holy crap, we are getting old.
Wow.
But went to the Air Force. I was recruited for football and played the Air Force Academy, and then did 5 years active duty. And after my 5 years, I jumped right into commission sales, 1997, and a lot of ups and downs, various industries. Spent a good bit of time in high tech, and invested in some training. I bought a 12-week teleclass in 2006. It changed my life, and I became a licensee of that sales coach. I bought the domain name, The Sales Whisperer, and I trademarked that. And have been coaching, training salespeople ever since. I kind of stumbled across the software world, software as a service. Bought it for myself, but then was it Remington? I liked the product so much, I bought the company. Remember that guy back in the day, and so I didn't buy the company, but I became a partner. And so since 2008, I've spent a lot of time in the software world helping small and medium businesses automate their processes. And it's harder than you think, right? Because you have to think through your processes, both your current and your ideal processes. And most people don't know, right? Most small businesses and even large businesses. 2007, I worked with Dell for 10 months to deploy Salesforce.com. And they were a multi-billion-dollar company even then. And they were run off of DOS and Excel and Outlook. Yeah. So talking about what do you want this to do? What are your stages? We want pipelines. Okay, how many stages in a pipeline? How do you move from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3? What makes something 20% versus 50%? And putting objective criteria into the subjective world of sales is tough. And so when you sit down with a business owner and say, what do you want to have happen?
Right.
Lead comes in. Do you want to assign it to a sales rep? Do you want to do a round robin lead assignment? Do you want to do it equally? After the sale, is it handed over to a service and support person or deployment person? Is there project management? Does the salesperson stay involved, right? And they're just like, I don't know. So those are hard questions. You think they're simple, but it's like, how many outbound emails do you want to? Do you want to mix in some SMS? Well, how do you? Yeah, well, I want to text them. Okay, well, how do you get their cell phone number?
Yeah.
What is your lead magnet, right? What are you offering in exchange for that? And those aren't always automatic. People, they hold on to their data, right? And so, do you want their address? Somebody just messaged me the other day, and they wanted my physical address to send a catalog out. Like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So to think through that, it's hard. I literally I just sent in a proposal this morning for a university, a big university. I mean, 15,000 staff,
Yeah.
and they're looking at CRMs, and they need. And I was asking questions, and they were like, "This project is to get those questions answered," and they were just fundamental. Like, what do you have? What do you
Right.
want? What do you need?
Right.
And 23 different colleges, 8 campuses,
Mhm.
and they've got a hodgepodge of tools out there, and
Yeah.
bringing that into focus is harder than it sounds, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about sales and marketing are two sides of the same coin,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
your CRM. I wrote this a long time ago. I said it in 2013, Salesforce.com, the 800-pound gorilla of
Mhm.
CRMs and
Yep.
CRM in the cloud,
Yep.
they basically admitted that the standalone CRM was dead because they
Mhm.
spent $2.5 billion buying Exact Target,
Mhm.
right, which was a communication platform, email marketing, and they had already bought Pardot. Pardot was an automation tool, an automation engine,
Mhm.
and that was 2013. So I'd been doing that for 5 years for small business,
Yep. Yeah.
and so it's only escalated ever since.
Well, I think it's interesting in terms of when you mention automations, like it's such a wonderful thing to use in terms of being able to free you up to do other things. But it's really about, like you said, it's an investigative process in terms of when you have a client, really diving in. Because, like you said, a lot of the times they're not sure. Sometimes you have to lead them in the right way and say, look, there's some use cases that work really well that I've seen. Here's some pilots that worked really well. Here's a breakdown of clients and what they've done in your space that have been similar in terms of success. So a lot of it is being that investigator, which it sounds like you really are when you first jump in there.
Well, that's anybody. If you're in sales, if you're in operations, or
Yeah.
like going hands on with the client, project management,
Yeah.
you better be asking good questions, right? You better be listening.
Yeah.
Um, Great salespeople have empathy, right? Just like when I say, if a doctor has good bedside manner, what that means is they are empathetic. And what does that mean? That means they take the time to ask good questions and
Mhm.
listen,
Right.
and then feed the answers back to the prospect or the patient so they feel seen and heard and understood.
Right.
When that happens, they're now more conducive and open to listening to the diagnosis
Yeah.
and the prescription,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And I did a book review on one of my episodes years ago on this book called Deep Survival. And
Mm.
it talked about it was like why people survive basically and why they don't. And uh, the conclusion that he drew, because like very capable people would
Yeah.
like get lost in the woods or in the ocean or whatever, but they get lost in the mountains and die like quickly, like somebody that was experienced and healthy, and that but they would just give up hope.
Hmm.
And what they came up with from the research and also from those that survived and interviewing them, the fear was that they would never be seen again.
Mm.
So like they would vanish, they would disappear, they would be just non-existent, and that just sapped the life out of them. It took away their will to live. They got so scared about it,
Huh.
and that was profound to me. And so, Thoreau said most men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? I had a woman on my podcast. She does counseling and coaching, for powerful people now. But she spent, I think, 7 years or maybe even more, 13 years as a stripper in New
Really.
York.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said she worked with very high end clients, and she said
Hmm.
most of the time she didn't strip.
Yeah.
It was just powerful men wanted to spend a lot of money
Right.
to talk, to be
Right.
heard, to be
Right.
seen, to be
Right.
understood.
Yep.
And most people don't understand that. Even super powerful, high ranking people. Because you
Yeah.
see it all the time with,
Yeah.
we were talking before you hit record, like Michael Jackson, you see
Right.
Prince, you see a Whitney Houston, like, dying of drug overdoses. I mean,
Yeah.
famous actors, powerful people, and like they
Yeah.
feel something's lacking.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so help your people be seen and heard and understood.
I think that's a huge part of it because when a client feels or a prospect that's going to turn into a client feels like you are understanding what you're talking, I mean, it's like 50% of what, really makes someone comfortable to being open to hearing what you're going to say. And that's a huge part of it, not to be skipped over. Um,
Yeah.
I want to talk about this. This is something I really liked on your site. The ABCDE sales and marketing system was a really nice diagram that you had there. So just talk to everybody about that a little bit. I thought that was really unique.
So I came up with that again after doing this for many years, and I mentioned pipelines and
Mm.
funnels became very popular, and they're fine, they're adequate.
Sure.
They are a good component, right? They're like dumbbells for the gym, a nice component to supplement your work.
Yeah.
Uh, but the problem with pipelines and funnels is that they're one direction, and you hear throw enough stuff against the wall, something's bound to stick, right? Shove enough stuff
Sure.
in the pipeline, you'll get out. It's just a numbers game.
Right.
And so those are fine as a component of the overall work. But in the ABCDE system, the concept is cyclical, it's circular, right? It's never ending.
Right.
And so the concept is um, treat every relationship and every step of every relationship as just one part of a never ending cycle. And so I call it attract, bond, convert, deliver, endear. So
Mhm.
if you look at that cycle, uh, I tell the story of like how I came to use Apple products. The first thing I did, I bought an iPod in like 2002.
Yeah.
And then I bought a MacBook Pro in 2004, and I went to work with a tech
Mhm.
firm. And then 2007, I bought an iPhone. Well, then I got my wife an iPhone. Then I bought the family an iMac. We have 7 kids. Now we have 7 kids, all on Apple products, multiple Apple products,
Yep.
right? AirPods, Apple Watches, iPads, laptops, phones, blah, blah, blah. Then my extended family, my in-laws, everybody's on Apple.
Yep.
So they understand the goal is not to make a sale.
Mhm.
The goal is to make a lifetime of sales. And most salespeople, they think attract, bond, convert. The conversion, the cash to close the client. They think they're done, and I equate that to getting married. Is the wedding ceremony the goal,
Mhm. Yep.
right? Or is that when the relationship really begins?
Mhm. Right.
You
Good
know,
point.
because people get divorced, right? And so people can issue a PO, they can buy your stuff, then file a chargeback, ask for a refund,
Right.
sue you.
Right.
Okay, so are you attracting? Are you bonding, multimedia, multi-step? Are you making it easy for them to become a client? Are you delivering delight? Are you delivering a wow experience? Now, when you do that, you endear yourself to them. Now you get testimonials, you get referrals. What is the
Mm.
referral? It's an attraction, but it's a free attraction,
Mhm.
right? Now they can almost skip bonding. Like, well, Rob told me I like Rob. I want to be like Rob.
Yep.
Attract bond customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna come back. So,
Yeah.
if you think of it as like literally never ending, you'll change how you act in the beginning. Now, that might lengthen your sales cycles initially, because if you're accustomed to just being pushy,
Yeah.
aggressive, um, you may have some short sales cycles, but you don't have a deep database. You don't have a deep pipeline. Those are
Yep.
going to be very transactional versus relational.
Yep.
So making that shift can be hard, but man, it's so worth it.
No, you're totally right about that. I mean, especially with the referral, that's funny. It's a way to skip the line a little bit, which is nice, and that's kind of the point of it. Um,
Yeah.
you have an expression that I thought really hit home, especially for today in our current world. The medium ain't the message, because there
Yeah.
are platforms are everywhere, different ways to communicate, how we reach out, omni-channel approach, all that stuff. So I feel like that's pretty timely in terms of that. So just unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, and like even in my own stuff, I started taking away some of the links. Like I can't be everywhere,
Mhm.
and so I'm gonna link to where I like being, where my people are,
Mhm.
right, where I can do it well. And so, because people think, oh, just having a podcast. Oh, I have a podcast. Okay, I'll get rich. Like most don't. Oh,
Yeah.
I got a TikTok channel. I remember a guy years ago when Snapchat was really blowing up,
Yep.
and he was an influencer.
Mhm.
Maybe in movie terms, right? He was a B, and not an A lister. He was a B lister. He was maybe a B minus lister,
Ooh.
trying to move up in the world, right? And he says Gary Vaynerchuk says 95% of your marketing dollars and effort should be on Snapchat.
Mm.
Okay, this was 7 or 8 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but Snapchat had burst on the scene, and
Mhm.
and then the whole thread on Facebook, people were just going to town on each other. And then it took a day or two, but he finally, at least he did come clean. He says, okay, well, there's a clarifying point. Like if your demographic is 18 to 25-year olds,
Mhm.
then 95% of your,
Sure.
I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of important,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So the, I've always said I help people deliver a powerful message in a powerful manner.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
And so that powerful manner could be a direct mail piece.
Mhm.
It could be a YouTube channel,
Mhm.
whatever. But what is the message when you understand who you help
Mhm.
and then you understand where they hang out, right? Like if you sell to boomers,
Mhm.
yeah, you may want to have a yellow pages ad still because they still have yellow pages.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out why you're even connecting with somebody in the first place.
Yeah.
Then you'll figure out the medium.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely a medium for everyone. Kind of like it's
Sure.
a, yeah, it's like your ICP, your ICM almost. What about the human element? And this is something and this is very timely in terms of AI and everything that's happening with technology that we were talking about prior to coming on. How do we humanize our sales messaging from your take? Like what you've seen, what you do, like what's some advice we have for folks to make sure it's humanized still?
You don't, man. You just hire somebody overseas and give them some AI code and some prompts. It's all about prompting.
Hey, do we tell everyone right now that we're prompts? Do we say that right now? By the way, we're prompts. Like, oh,
Just
there we go.
comment prompt in the comments below and I'll DM you. But we
Right,
must connect first.
right. But I won't DM you, but the AI will. There it
Oh
is.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let it sit for a few hours to make it seem like I'm in demand. You got to
Right,
build that,
right.
artificial scarcity.
Sure.
Man, I tell you what, I learned on accident how much scraping is going on
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
I put a red phone in my name on LinkedIn years ago.
Mhm.
So it was Wes Red Phone Schaeffer. That's just to stand out. And LinkedIn was so crowded, so busy, so noisy. It still is.
Yeah.
And so I started getting all these emails and LinkedIn messages. Hi, Wes. Like, then like curse words, right? Like star, exclamation point, question mark, because their email tool
Yeah.
couldn't render that uh, icon or whatever emoji, whatever it's called, right?
Right.
And
The actual
so,
phone thing. Yeah. 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 Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so it would put dash, question mark, exclamation point, star, bracket. I was like, what is going on? They're all scraping, right? Like LinkedIn is selling our stuff. So if
Yeah.
you want to connect as a human, number one, at least clean up your data,
Yeah.
okay? Because we're all so, and I'm a fan of email newsletters and broadcasts and whatnot. But I'm not a fan of cold messages.
Sure.
I've done that to people that have opted in. I said, "Hey, get this thing, and
Yeah.
get you will be added to my list. You can opt out, but I'm going to email you when you request it. I'm going to be in touch. I'm going to make you offers.
Yeah.
Opt out at any time,
Right.
right? But when they're like literally every day, probably 5 to 10 times a day,
Mhm.
I am marking emails as spam, and then I'm blocking people. I
Yeah.
got one today. So here's a little tip. If you email me, support at thesaleswhisperer.com or support at wesschaeffer.com, I'm
Mhm.
blocking you because I don't sign up with that email address. So
Mhm.
they're just guessing, right? They're info at sales ad, support ad. I mean, because everybody knows you got a catch-all address. So it's like if they don't know my real address, they're going to guess it.
Right.
So, you know, and I've said for years, you have to do what doesn't scale.
Yeah.
So use tools, use email marketing and opt-ins and whatever
Yeah.
to attract.
Yeah.
But then do what you can to stand out. Like I've got a 12 weeks to peak program. It's a free habit tracker. And I've got a mobile app. I put a lot of my content there. So you get free access to that. But I need your cell phone because the app that I use has you opt in with your cell phone. Cell phone and a 4-digit PIN. So it's super simple.
Yeah.
But I message people one off like, hey, Rob, this is really Wes. And especially if you have an iPhone, it comes out blue. I share my, you can share your image and name.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, let me know how I can help. So people are like,
it's great.
This isn't automated. Like, no, this is not automated. Like, what? So people like people.
Yes. Yeah, we agree. I tell you, that's one of the biggest things we've done in Dub over the years because we're all about sending nice, authentic videos to people. Like we talk about outreach all the time. Like even if it was just a simple, hey, Wes, it's Rob. Listen, it was so great meeting you. I just want to introduce myself.
But see,
simple as that.
You use my name. I got two days ago, I think I got an email.
Yeah.
And it's savvy, man. It's one of my landing pages, and it's scrolling.
Yeah.
And it was a Loom video.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "Hey, I just want to take it. You're doing great work."
Yeah.
But he didn't say my name.
You got to say the name.
So I know that was AI.
Yep.
Scripting, coding.
Yeah.
It's searching the web. Screen grab, then doing an overlay.
Someone like yourself who has a lot of specific stuff. Like, I mean, like, and we joked about this last time we talked. One of my favorite SNL skits ever is More Cowbells, right? With Christopher Walken. I think everybody loves that, right? You actually had that on your site and it was great. Like you have a lot of good original stuff there for people to really learn about you and get an idea of kind of how you are. And if I was reaching out, I mean, those are amazing gold nuggets of understanding about not only what it is, because you want to reference something you don't have a base on. I mean, you can all research everything, but you at least want to make an effort to connect like that meaningfully and then add some layer on top of it. What are you bringing to the stage after that? That's a big part of the humanization.
Hey, I had a guy, John Buchan, on my podcast, and he sends drunk emails. So you should talk to him. So he's a Brit.
Yep.
And he talked about he's in marketing and he was frustrated. Things weren't going well. And he tied one on, is like, I'm going to send some emails. And he didn't send emails like to his local chiropractor. He sent emails to like Fortune 100 companies. And then the next day he's like, what did I do? And they started replying positively and he got business out of it.
Wow. Did he study it, Wes? Did he go back and look and say, okay, did he give it like the full sober breakdown of like, oh, wow, okay, so I said that worked. I said that worked. Like, did he
kind of? Yeah. I mean, his whole business now is just helping people. He's got templates and tutorials. And, so I just sent in a proposal again to this major university doing a CRM review. And, it's $55,000. And I did it all properly, executive summary, but I did executive summary bracket formal, couple of paragraphs, and then executive summary informal.
Nice.
And so I'm like, I may lose it, I may win. I'll let you know, right? But it's like I just feel nobody really likes all this stuff. And look, I use ChatGPT to read the RFQ, to summarize it for me, to give me what I think they want, what they think they want to see.
Sure.
And it was a nice outline and I cleaned it up and humanized it. But then I put in a couple of paragraphs like, here's the deal. Here's reality.
It's kind of like you're doing the on the record, off the record.
Yes.
So here's what you want to hear professionally. Now let's walk out into the hallway and let's have a real combo about my take on this, which is I'm going to give you the real deal on what I think here. And that's great. I think that's a really good idea. Like looking past the initial, that's pretty cool.
You can't be afraid to be human. And I get it. There's some things, maybe there's some industries you got to always be buttoned up. But
Yeah.
more and more, I mean, we're seeing behind
Mhm.
the curtain,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I mean,
True.
all these people are human. Like my good friend, he's the godfather of my sixth child,
It's
very
awesome.
successful attorney.
Yeah.
Um, he can be all business,
Yeah.
but then we meet at the end of the day and he's a Chicago Blackhawks fan because he's from Chicago. He's Irish, and dude, there's nothing formal about the guy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So you got to find that right blend. And again, I get it. Some people, maybe you're in sales, you're W2, and so there's
Yeah.
protocol and whatever, and I get it. But you can find little ways. Hey, let's step out into the hall,
Mhm.
and especially now, you do some research. You can find info on people,
Yeah.
but you got to be careful how you use it.
Right. Right.
It's like I wouldn't just blurt out. Let's say I do some deep research and I find out. Like you like collecting uh,
Right.
little gnomes, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so I just hop on. Hey, Rob, you don't even look like a gnome. You're like, what?
Actually,
Because
I have a Garfield right here. Does that count? I have a Garfield right
hey,
there.
that's all
Yeah,
right.
there
I
there we
like
go.
that.
Yeah.
What do I have? I got a bottle of whiskey over there.
Hey, Garfield likes lasagna and whiskey. I think he's okay with that.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't have anything cool. What do I have? Oh, you know what I have?
Hmm.
I have the King of Farts candle. Ooh.
Oh, I've seen that. Yep, that's very nice. That's very nice for special occasions. That's
It does.
perfect.
It smells pretty good though. But
One day we'll be able to
I need a
smell that.
Gar. I need a Garfield in my life.
Oh, he's my favorite.
So do some research. Humanize things, right? But that's where. So there's the science. Do some research. The art is how do I sprinkle in something
Sure. Yep.
that helps us connect.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and because again, you can't just come right out and say that.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, but if you got some brains, and you listen,
Mhm.
there'll be a moment, there'll be something that pops up. You could tell a story about maybe about one of your kids or a niece or nephew or a friend,
Yeah.
or drop a movie line and
Sure.
what, and you'll connect. And you may not even openly talk about it,
Mhm.
okay? But I always say that selling is a zero sum game, and people are like, "What do you mean? It's a win win." It's got to be a win win for your client. But if you are 1% worse than your competition, you lose 100% of the sale, 100% of the money.
Yeah.
Like I love golf, and they just had the PGA Championship, and
Yep. Yep.
uh, watching the Masters, whatever. These guys will shoot whatever 270
Mhm.
shots roughly over 4 days, and they'll win by one stroke. One stroke over 4 days, right? That is one quarter. So that's not even 1%, right?
No.
One out of 270. I mean, it's a fraction of a percent. And so then each day, it's one quarter
Mhm.
of that fraction of 1%. So each day, can they, for 4 days, can they make 270 shots 6 inches closer to the hole? So, over 7,000 yards or something.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that's nothing. But that little delta
Mhm.
puts you in the history books.
Right. Right. Just that
Gives
little
you
part.
a,
Yep.
a 1.5, $2 million payday.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, but hey,
Absolutely.
second place still get $800,000. I'll come in second. I'll come in second every tournament the rest of my life.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right. No
But in
problem.
sales,
Yeah.
you get zero. So me
Yeah.
dropping that little hint,
Mhm.
dropping that little thing, and not even making eye contact with you, it's plant in the back of your brain, like, yeah, I don't know. Let's go with Wes's proposal. I mean, they're all things being equal. I mean, they're same price, blah blah blah. Let's go with them. Why? I don't know. I just got this feel. I just gut feel. I mean,
Yeah.
he's my guy
Yeah.
because you planted something, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, Wes, wonderful episode here. I want to know for everyone out there, what's a piece of advice as we get ready to go now? What's something you want to impart to the audience? Something where you're like, hey, think about this as you're doing your daily sales. Like, what do you got? What do you got? Pull something out of the bag.
You got me distracted. I see sales. I saw grits.
Yeah, grit.
I'm from the
and growth.
South, man. My
Jeez.
wife, she makes me grits. God bless
That's awesome.
her. Sales and grit, huh? You know, grit's a good word.
Yep. Yep.
People say they have grit,
Mhm.
but do you really? And when was the last time it was tested?
Mhm.
You know, uh, you need to bite off more than you can chew. You need to develop grit.
Yeah.
You know, I've done jujitsu now since 2017. But before that, and I was invited to do it. I didn't seek it out. But now I tell everybody they should do it. But before that, I had started training for an open water swim. For 7 years, I swam across Tampa Bay for the Navy
Oh, wow.
SEAL Foundation, 3.5 miles, right? And I'd never done an open water swim in my life.
Yep.
But having a big goal,
Mhm.
okay, get something that you've never done before and train hard for it. And it can be physical. It can be, years and years ago, I don't even know how long now, but I did an open mic. A friend of mine owned a comedy store. He did a 6-week session.
Yep.
And then we did an open mic.
Mhm.
And I had spoken for years at that point, and that was still the hardest talk I'd ever given. So find things that are hard to do and sign up for them. Make the time. Like I just started my 4th year as HOA president,
Yep. Yeah.
and it's funny because people push back. I don't have time. I can't even go to a meeting, right? I've got kids there. I got 7 kids and my own business. Kiss my grits.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
like it's not important to you. And it's fine that it's not important to you. But if it's not important to you, then shut up.
Right.
But
Right.
they're like, whoa, you can't talk to me like this. Like, well, you can't talk to me like that. I'm in
Yeah.
my 3rd year, just started my 4th. Okay, we're making decisions. I'm trying to inform you. If you don't give me any input, don't complain.
Yes. I
Okay,
mean,
so you have time. You have time for what is important.
yeah.
Okay, and you need to be well rounded.
Mhm.
Okay, when you get this tunnel vision,
Mhm.
you're not yourself. You need, if you look at if we truly lived life in a 40-hour work week,
Mhm.
okay, and most do not. Most are working too much. But
Mhm.
even in a typical 40-hour work week, you're only working 1/3 of your life,
Mhm.
right? You work 8 hours,
Right.
you rest, play, do something else for 8 hours, then you sleep for 8 hours.
Mhm.
Okay. And that doesn't even count the weekends. But most people are like, 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week. They're just grinding themselves into a nub. There's no enjoyment. There's no spring
Right.
in their step. There's no spark in their life,
Yeah.
And so you've got to branch out. And in the meantime, they're complaining about how bad everything is.
Mm.
The world's going to hell in a handbasket. Yeah, because you're not focused. You're not efficient at work. You're not maximizing your earnings. So you don't have time to expand as a human. You don't have time to give back to your community. You don't have time to work on yourself. So yeah, everything's crumbling all around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, take on more. So you have to compartmentalize and be efficient,
Yeah.
and you'll get more done and you'll get more out of life.
It's amazing advice. Wes, thank you so much for the time, my friend. You're one of the most, the guests that we've had on over the years have ranged in so many different capacities and backgrounds, but your straightforward style, the wit that you have with the copy that you write and what you do is very original, and it's very humanizing. And I think that's the big thing to take away, is you really combining that tech part of the world that we live in now, but really reminding people to humanize, do your research, make an impact, say their name. And it's all important stuff. So thanks for
Say
coming
my
on.
name.
Yeah. Well, don't even get me started on that rabbit hole. Don't get me started. By the way, real quick before we go, did you finish The Godfathers? You said you were watching The Godfathers. Weren't you like
I've watched 1 and 2. I've begun 3.
Okay.
3 is a little off. I don't know if I like the direction.
I'll let you finish it first. Let me know what you think. Shoot me an email. Let me know what you think. Because
No, I
I have
watched 1 and 2.
huh?
Oh, you want me to watch 3? Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
you finish 3. Finish 3 first. Yeah.
Okay. It's so funny though. 1 has some horrible acting.
Well, it's dated. I'll say that. It's like when you see back, it was more stage acting. A lot of that stuff, the oration stuff, where things are a little more micro now.
Yeah, well, when Sonny's beating up with it Carlos, I
Yeah,
mean, just he misses his face
oh,
by a
I know.
mile.
He hits him twice, and his face moves like this in the street, and it's not even close to him. And what's his name, Coppola, when he's directing it, how could I mean? It's so crazy. He's an amazing director, but when you watch it back, like, how did he miss it? Like he's not even connected. Did they not have enough to shoot this scene again? I mean, it's just kind of funny. Yeah,
But I did. The second was good. I don't think I had seen the second.
second's amazing. It's
There was a
amazing.
lot of it. I was like, I think I saw some, but I don't think I watched the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I like the back and forth.
Mhm.
I like the original going back to Italy and
Mhm. Yeah.
squaring things up.
Yes, yeah, to
That
say the
was
least.
savage.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So good, so good. Well, Wes, listen, man, thanks so much we really appreciate this. Audience, everybody, this has been Wes Schaeffer, the business fixer, sales whisperer, right down the pipe, gives you the message, what you need to hear. Wes, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
See you, everybody.